Tower, bottom of the Smash Mountain. I would like to thank all my patron supporters over at patreon.com/bsmpod for continuing to support me and what I'm doing. Big shout outs to my senior producers, have my mom and dad, love y'all, and Ventus Official, who I also love, just not as much as I love my parents. So happy that the rest of you are here tonight, joining us either live on Twitch, or if you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on wherever you get your podcasts. And I forgot to mention this last time I was live with Hada last week. I heard about Stitcher Premium dissolving or maybe being bought out by somebody else. Doesn't matter. The way that it was phrased to me was that it's going by the wayside. Get owned, Stitcher Premium. I was at one point, Frog, who is joining us tonight here, I at one point was in the business of trying to put my podcasts everywhere. You know, you have to upload your RSS feed here, and then it'll automatically populate and appear when you go through your host platform. Great, perfect. So I don't have to upload the same podcast to 20 podcasting platforms, because literally there's 20 plus. Except for Stitcher Premium, because they said, no, you can't just upload your RSS feed. You have to make an account. And that was rage inducing from me, because I go, well, do you want people using your platform or not? So get on Stitcher Premium. More importantly, though, and what we'll spend the rest of tonight talking about, I promise, Frog from Nova Scotia, NS Frog here on the pod. Thank you so much for joining me, Frog. I hope that you're having a nice day. Sorry to get the Stitcher Premium stuff right up front, but I really appreciate you coming on.
No, absolutely. I've been wondering for a while when you were gonna, because we've been following each other for a long time. So I've been wondering for a while when you're finally gonna get me on here.
You have no idea how many people I want to come on, and then I just yeah. So that's all totally on me. Edwin Budding insisted that I was specifically out for him, because he said, you even had Melody on before you had me, and this is ridiculous. I was actually most nervous to ask you, and he said, don't you do that. Don't do that. And I said, it's true. What do you want me to do? It sounds so intimidating on the Waiting for Game podcast. Anyway, I'm really happy to finally have you on, because yes, it's been a long time coming. I try to show the Nova Scotia scene a lot of love because of how amazing Petra and Legs are. We've had Lil Mitz on, we've had Rose on as well. Love Nova Scotia as much as I could without actually having to pay $1,000 to either fly or take an entire day to. It's just I hate the whole system for that, but of course maybe I should just buy a ticket to Ireland and then land in Nova Scotia and then hop off real quick. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that at some point. I also could drive. It's only 1,200 miles, I think. And this is one of my favorite things when people go, Nova Scotia is so close to Toronto. And I go, you're even worse than me, because I am the royalty of don't know where that is. I'm such a dumb, poorly educated person, but I at least know that Nova Scotia and Toronto are very far apart from each other.
Yeah, a drive to Boston is about half the time of a drive to Toronto.
So if I get to Boston, then I only have wait, that doesn't.
Yeah, no, Boston is a 12-hour drive for me.
Oh,
Toronto is 22.
22 hours. See, that's what I'm saying. That's like 1,500 miles. I mean, do we talk in kilometers, by the way? I don't think I asked.
I have no idea how long a mile is. No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I also couldn't tell you how long a kilometer is. In Canada, we measure distances in time. That's a 3-hour drive. If you tell me something's 500 miles away, no idea.
Or 500 kilometers, doesn't matter.
300 kilometers, I have no idea how long that is.
That's crazy.
It's a 2-hour drive, I know how far I'm going.
But I do think of it in both ways. I almost like have this sick need of knowing not only how long it'll take, but also how many miles, because you at least know that a mile in the city is different than a mile on a 60-kilometer-hour road on the highway or what have you. Okay, but that probably doesn't matter to you anyway, because you go, it doesn't matter, Jesse, because it just matters how long you're supposed to take for you to get there. You see where I'm going with this? And I go, yes, I do. I'm sorry.
No, it's 100%, because, you know, a 20-minute drive in the city, I don't care how long the distance is. If it's a 20-minute drive in the city or if it's a 20-minute drive on the highway, it's still 20 minutes. That's how long it's going to be in the car.
You're right,
No,
and
it's
I'm just like need to know. But oh, we got Petra in chat already. Big blessings. Thank you, Petra, for saying hello live on the Twitch side of things. Boy, oh boy. Enough self-promoting. I would like to ask you, Frog, about your origin story. I love learning how people get into Melee. I say that a lot, and it's true. I'm not just saying that because I think it's a little bit different from person to person. So don't say to me, this is the same as everybody else or what have you, because it's like I said, it's a little different for everybody. So please tell me, how did you get into Melee?
I think I have a pretty unique story for getting into Melee. As a kid, I played Smash 64. That was one of my first games I ever played, but I never owned a GameCube, so I never actually played Melee. I played Melee for the first time, and I think I was 15 or 16, and I went to a buddy of mine in high school's house, and he just had it, and we played it on the HDTV, and it was awful, but it was still great because I always liked Smash, and I played Smash 4 when it came out. I played Ultimate when it came out, but so the story of how I got into competitive Melee is a little different than a lot of people. A lot of people like watch the doc or whatever. I was a big Counter-Strike person, and I was a big Cloud9 fan because Cloud9 had the team with like Sean Garris and Freakazoid and people like that. I don't remember exactly who was on the team, but I went to the Cloud9 website to look at their roster because they were having roster changes, and I saw that they had a Super Smash Bros. Melee player, and they had a highlight video of Mango winning back-to-back Evos of 2013-14. And I watched that highlight video, and I was like, wow, that was super cool. This game looks awesome. So then, from that point, I downloaded the old NetPlay build, pre-Faster Melee. It was Dolphin 4.0989, something or other. And I started playing NetPlay in Nova Scotia, which was awful, but I got super lucky because there was some people who were also in the same boat as me that kind of lived in the middle of nowhere, didn't really have any locals close to them, that were also in Atlantic Canada that were running NetPlay. So I ended up learning the game through NetPlay on an Xbox 360 controller. And then I drove, and then I did find out a couple months later, a weekly started from someone who's been on the podcast, which is Lil Mitz, started up a 6-person weekly in a game store in a literal town. It was like a town of, I think, 8 or 9,000. And he was like, he had 3 friends from this high school that all played. And I was like, we're going to do a weekly and we're going to get people to go. And I went to my first one, and I've been trading sets with Lil Mitz since that day. And that's how I originally started getting into Melee.
I love that 360 controller, even before faster NetPlay, because that was even before Anther's Ladders, right? Or do you?
It was on Anther's Ladder.
Oh, so with the Anther's Ladders was around by that point. I wouldn't know because I was not around for Anther's Ladders days. Not in Melee like that at the time.
Early 2015, I believe the first set or tournament that I watched live was MVG Sandstorm, which is what I believe. I believe it was the one where West Balls beat Hungrybox, and the only time West Balls has ever beaten Hungrybox.
Wasn't that also the first time that PM was like blackballed at a major? Wasn't or was that the last tournament that was run before it started being blackballed as well? I feel like that's a landmark tournament name in my head that was PM just started to, because it was really popular leading up to that. To early 2015, PM was just as popular as Melee. That's what the streets tell me, Frog.
It's possible. I definitely was not that into PM at any point. I played a ton of Brawl as a kid, but I never really played PM. So I didn't super follow PM. So I think that was around the time that PM was like dying for the first time. So,
but it's a toughie. But
I became very into Melee at that point.
And it is a Melee podcast. I think I prefer to give shout outs and love to
no, I love the PM
compared to Ultimate. Have you played Ultimate?
Yeah, I played Ultimate. I don't hate it. I don't love it for some matchups. I like the game a lot, and then I play the game and I have to play against like a Richter or something that's just throwing projectiles and actually trying to time out from the second the game starts, and I'm just not interested. And but
I'd say the worst character to play against for that game is probably Samus, I would say, actually, just because of the projectile stuff. I can, for whatever reason, deal with Olimar or Rob or Richter, like the Belmonts, but Something about Samus in that game, which only makes me want to play Samus versus that Samus to return the favor. But thankfully, just I'm over my ultimate. What's the arc? I'm over the ultimate arc. It was like one of the less popular arcs in my life. Not as much buzz and draw that people wanted to be in on. But eight person multiplayer is really fun on big maps.
Ultimate's great fun. I think it's a
So
lot of fun.
just not for me for anything remotely competitive. But if you were starting to really get into things with Lil Mitz and the rest of the tiny little Nova Scotia scene, even in 2015, what was it like seeing it go through the COVID arc? Because that killed a lot of smaller regions that had less people attending. I'm just curious how it went from your perspective.
Absolutely. So when I joined the scene as like a kid in 2015, and by the time like 2019, 2020 came around, I was no longer a kid, but I was still like, growing years. And I kind of I think 2019, right before we shut down, I took over TOing the weeklies because I was going to school now. So I was at the university that we run our weeklies through. So I was going to be TOing the weeklies, and then COVID shut everything down, and that kind of completely killed my motivation for the game. And I got really lucky because I had a roommate at the time who really wanted to get into Melee. And that is the only reason that I still play Melee, is because he would every day would be like, hey, you want to play some Melee today? And I would just play any character in the game, and I would do whatever, and I would teach him stuff about the game, and I'd be like, hey, yeah, you can do this and this and this. And he still plays now. I roomed with him with GOML. I love the guy. That's Zuber. He's my goat. But that's the only reason I still played Melee at that point. And I didn't really have the desire to run any net play tournaments. But luckily, so there was a person in our local scene that had been out for a long time when Slippy first came out. And his name is Wrecked Off to Sauce. And he decided to put together, just for Nova Scotia, the first ever, he called it the Slippy Sauce Weekly because he was wrecked off to sauce or whatever. And it was only Nova Scotia, and he put money into it, and he wanted to have like a net play tournament through Slippy. And I think he ran 3 or 4, and then he was pretty much done and he stopped playing. He was like, all right, I've done my thing. And luckily for us, Petra, who you've also had on, stepped up and has run Slippy Sauce literally every single. We first expanded it to Atlantic Canada, and then to just all of Eastern Canada, just because we wanted more people and more interesting just storylines and gameplay. But Petra has been running these every week for like 100-something weeks at this point. I think we are on Slippy Sauce like 112 or something. That was Monday. So she has been hard carrying the netplay scene. And so that actually made our smaller local scene of Nova Scotia expand into the larger Atlantic Canada scene. And as anyone at GOML might know, we had a very large crowd, and we all were very loud, and we've never been closer. So I think as much as COVID kind of killed a lot of smaller scenes, I feel like it kind of revitalized our scene within Atlantic Canada to a point where like I don't think the scenes of Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland PEI have ever been like close as we are now. And that's a lot due to Petra.
I love that. It's not the same exact arc, but for 717, that's what we refer to when we talk about Lancaster County, Dauphin County, York, a little bit of Chester. This is Central PA, which is where I live in Pennsylvania. When any PA person will say PA, nobody says Pennsylvania here. But what I'm getting at is that when COVID hit, that kind of killed everything off pretty thoroughly. Although shout outs to Jay Bobison for running a few online events here or there, try to just keep it within the tri-state area because he didn't want there to be big net play issues. But then Slippy came out and was able to expand a little bit. But that wasn't really going super well, even with throwing a little bit of money in. There was not a lot of interest. I, at the time, was recording podcasts on my phone in my car using data because I had no Wi-Fi and no computer to use. So I certainly couldn't play NetPlay. And we were still all staying at home. And when we started to throw events back on in 2021, I thought, wow, this first event back where there seems to be a lot of people here, this is awesome. As it turns out, it was a lot of people who came back but they knew that they weren't going to be regularly showing up to stuff. They just wanted to have, just like this is the real goodbye tournament, because how are you supposed to know in the beginning of March, a couple weeks later in 2020, everything's just shut down.
Yeah.
But in 2022, we finally started to have some regular stuff come back when we had Sean, who did the Millersville University weeklies, and then Drew, who's an Ultimate kid. Drew stepped up, started running events. Jesus with a Z started running events. Clavicle started running the Garage Monthlies. And now all of a sudden in July, we had 6 IRL events in 717. And George, who is one of our OG TOs as well, even older than Jay Bobison, told me or somebody else, and I heard this is as big or as popular as Melee has ever been in our region. It's just really, really cool that it wasn't during the heydays of 2016, because I know that was a peak for a lot of different regions, or Melee as a whole, viewership wise, everything. But it's really cool that at this point we have lots of people entering monthlies, weeklies, bi-weeklies. We have so much going on. I feel like it's just like the most amazing special thing ever. And so I'm really hopeful that we can continue to roll with that and not go back into the quote unquote dark ages. But I remember when it was quote unquote dead and being in the server going, can't wait to get things back on. And everyone's going, yeah, sure. But it takes the TOs to actually do it. It takes people like Petra to say, no, we're running Slippy Sauce again. I don't care if we had 8 entrants or 5 last week. We're doing it again, and this is why it matters. And the 5 people go, let's go, and then we get a 6th person in. Yeah, expanded a little bit because net play is better than it used to be. Yeah, and then showing up to GOML last year versus this year, I'm sure there was a big difference of who's who from Nova Scotia and the rest of Atlantic Canada showing up in Ontario.
Yeah. Last year at GOML, I think we had 2 people make it out of pools. This year, or from Atlantic Canada, I think we had 3 people make it out of pools. This year, I think we had 10. So we did a lot better this year in terms of placements. We did a lot better this year in terms of showing up. There was a huge crew battle Saturday night between Atlantic Canada, and it was originally supposed to be Nova Scotia versus Ottawa, but it got expanded a lot. It became Atlantic Canada versus Ontario.
Whoa!
We may have lost, but my God, it was the most fun moment of GOML for me and for a lot of people that were there. I think everyone was screaming, everyone was having a good time, and stuff like that is why I love Melee as a community so much. Is just like, not everyone is going to be competing on the stage, and not everyone is going to be, top 20 in the world, but everyone can sit down and be like, hey, you people over there, my people are better than your people, and we're gonna prove it, and we're all gonna yell and scream and have a good time, and stuff like that is just incredible.
We could talk about GOML right away. I'm curious about how many GOMLs you have been to and your own, how things have changed for you, how much you've either gotten more into Melee or if you've kind of fallen out of it and gone back into it. Everybody has like their Melee arcs. There's going to be times where you're really invested and really in, and then you kind of have to take a step back. How's it changed for you in the past 3 years?
So I went to my first GOML in 2017 when I was 17, and I drove with a couple of people who I'm still friends with to this day, and they're still great friends with them. And I think I got 65th. I was one set away from pools, but also that GOML, I benefited from the Mewtwo King DQ. So I ended up, I lost to an Ice Climber player twice to get 65th. I lost to the same player. I got wobbled twice, and I was a Sheik player back then. So I was like, you know what? I was a little disappointed then, but I also didn't really, at that point, I didn't understand how small of a fish I was in a big pond. I then missed until GOML last year, where I went and I was seeded to get 65th, and I made the big upset. I beat the person who was seeded to beat me, and I was like, okay, I'm in. And then I played the Swooper, and it was a game 3 set, and it was a super close set, and it was super doable, and I just barely didn't win. So going into losers, I was like, okay, I'm feeling so good. I only need to win 1 more set. It's against someone I'm seeded above. I should win. and I lost, and I was devastated. I was devastated. And from that point at GOML on is when I started entering net play tournaments basically every day, sometimes multiple a day, which is why if you've ever seen the ETOS stats of last year, I was the 4th most tournament playing player of the year last year.
Yeah, nobody was posting on Twitter complaining about how many tournaments you were entering at the same time. Huh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
I never double tournamented. I only ever played one at a time, but then as soon as I was out, I'd enter the next one. And
that's interesting.
I played 3,333 tournament games as Captain Falcon last year. And I didn't want to ever lose the way that I lost at GOML again. And I feel like I got to the point where even when I'm playing at my worst, I still feel like I'm going to make it into pools. And then at GOML this year, I didn't have any close sets with anyone in my pool, which was kind of disappointing. But it is what it is. I beat everyone.
You grew too fast. Is that what you say?
No, I beat everyone that I was supposed to beat pretty easily. I got really lucky with the draw. The one person who I was supposed to have a close seeded match with is a Peach player, and that's my best matchup by a lot. I run into like Laud and Wally and all the top Peach players on ranked, and it's always decently close. I take a game or a set every once in a while, but they do beat me more than I beat them, but it's always close. So I feel like if I'm not playing against like a top 100 Peach, I'm so comfortable. So that was just kind of a lucky draw. And then the player that I was seeded to play in losers ended up getting upset. So I had a Marth who didn't really know how to play against Captain Falcon, which is what it is. And then in winners, I played Ben, who the first 2 games we had were super close games. They were good games. I have nothing bad to say about them. It's just kind of like we would get down to the last stock situation, and I had my open up, and then I got nervous, and I would miss up a punish or something, and then Ben would get me, and he wouldn't mess up his punish. So I ended up losing those 2 games, and then game 3, I just kind of got washed. So I didn't really have any close sets in my pool. And then as soon as out of pools, I had an 11 a.m. pool. And the GOML this year, for me, I wasn't really feeling like competing. I just wanted to hang out with people. So I played my 11 a.m. pool up until the point where I was out of it. And then I didn't touch my controller again until I played Midnight Blue in top 128. And we had a decently close set. He beat me 3-1, and then I was out. But I'm not upset with how I performed as a player at GOML this year or anything. So, and I don't know. I'm at a kind of low point in terms of motivation for playing right now. I just kind of want to play Yoshi, which a lot of people don't enjoy that I want to play Yoshi. But Captain Falcon against Fox has just ruined me mentally for too long. So. But that's my GOML experiences.
Cap in chat says if you got KBBQ before that set versus Midnight Blue, you would have won.
Yeah, we went to KBBQ, but I didn't want to get any because it was very expensive. So
no, that's real. You can't buy your way to success, even if it's delicious food that's supposed to give you that. I know what you mean about traveling, though. That's the reason why we can't show up to every single tournament, because I probably would. I mean, I guess I also have to figure out a way to bring my family, but I would have been at tournaments like GOML, or I won't be going down to SmashCon in a couple of weeks, and everybody from 717 is going, and they're going, "You're going, right?" And I'm going, "No, I'm not." I'm very sad.
It's very tough.
It is what it is. It is what it is. But it'd be the same as, because for you, the onus until Kings of Halley becomes super big, the onus is on everybody in Atlantic to just mosey on over to Toronto, just a 22-hour drive, or you literally just have to fly, and it's expensive. Toronto's expensive.
Yeah, the flights we actually got really lucky with. We found there was a flight super early. It was only 200 round trip for Toronto, so we actually had a super cheap flight this time around. Last year it was double that, but yeah, I do appreciate the KOH bring up. I'm trying very hard to make that one big, make people come to that, but I understand that it's very hard to fly out to a peninsula in the middle of nowhere.
It will become the go-to place as you continue to kind of just build and build. I know that Ohan is lucky for tipped off because Atlanta, Georgia is like a really big airport, something, something, something. But eventually you realize Smash Camp. Oh, I got to go to Smash Camp. Why? Because I want to drive a couple of hours out of Phoenix after flying to Phoenix to get to this middle of nowhere camp. You got people saying that because there's something magical, even if it is a bunch of narcotics and alcohol mixed in with cabins. Ooh, with air conditioning still, if I had to guess. I know that we say camp and it's not the same as watching a show like Alone. I am digging in a little bit on Smash Camp because I've never been and I'm very jealous of everybody else for getting to go.
I tried really hard to go to Smash Camp the year before COVID. I was gonna do it as like a graduation present to myself. I was like, I'm gonna force myself to meet people, and then COVID happened, and then I no longer could afford it, and I was like, dang,
that's tough.
Right, never mind.
I guess I'm just owned then. What is an event that you've been to? So you've been to a fair amount of majors. Have you been down to any? I've
only been to GOMLs.
But whoa. So you're that's a fair amount. I just assumed that you went to one or two. Yeah. I just assumed that you went to one or two U.S. majors, but you never been to a U.S. major.
I have not. I was almost going to go to Shine this year, but I've had some unfortunate situations, and I can no longer afford it. So
I'm getting comments in chat. Shout outs to, I guess you could say K_Y_A_T, but I'm guessing it's Kiat, or is it something else? How do you pronounce that?
I don't know how to pronounce that. That's just Jack.
Okay, Jack. I have been told by Rose I have to go to Kings of Halley, but I will not be able to go this year. This is a next year at the earliest thing for me because I went through all of my travel funds to get out to Vancouver earlier this year, and I will not be able to build it back up in time to get a flight or drive to. I mean, I might drive even next year because the flights are just prohibitively expensive. So next year is probably what it's looking like. That's Kings of Halley 7 because this is Kings of Halley 6 coming up.
Provided we happen again, I want to do it again. As long as the head TO wants to do it again, I'm there. I'm running it as long as he wants.
If you're telling me that Kings of Halley 6 is the last Kings of Halley,
I don't have any information that says that.
I will die on the hill that I need to die on to go if it's the last one. Okay. All right. I will say that at least.
We've been getting bigger every year, so I'm hoping that continues. Yeah. When you were saying earlier,
sorry, Petra says that you're gonna kill Kings of Halley.
Yeah. No. When you were talking earlier about how a lot of stuff isn't in like the heyday of 2016 or whatever. Last year, actually, I feel like because of all the stuff that our scene has done through online and stuff, last year's KOH was the biggest event that Atlantic Canada has ever had for Melee. I think we beat the last one by, 3 people, and the last one was 2016, 2017. And this year, just based on projected signups and stuff, I think we're going to beat it again. We have a ton of people that have shown interest from Ontario, and I'm very, very excited to show a bunch of Ontario people what it's like to get drunk in the Maritimes. So,
where you could be as many as 30 minutes ahead of Eastern time.
It's even more than that. You're an hour ahead of Eastern time by default, and then if you go to Newfoundland, it's another half hour.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
I apologize. As much as an hour, up to an hour and a half. That's what I need to remember. Newfoundland is the one that's an hour and a half, not 30 minutes ahead, an hour and a half ahead. My bad. I was told this by Petra, but I forgot which order it was in.
That's all right. You don't have to pay attention. There aren't that many of us in this time zone.
Does 10:12 p.m. really feel nice, Cap? Does it really? Anyway, I wanted to ask you more questions about GOML because what's the vibe if it's not hey, we all have to show up and show out so that we can kind of make our region know. It's fair to say that Ontario is at least very familiar, and the rest of East Coast, since you've opened up Slippy Sauce and the like you are perennially on other platform, not platforms, what's the right word, the Discord, the Melee Stats Discord, that kind of thing. We'll talk about rankings, I'm sure, down the line here. That's something that we'll definitely have to get into, since you're an official ballot holder for the summer rankings of 2023. But there's enough people who know about NS. So did you, and you yourself didn't seem to feel a collective pressure on yourself to show up for your region.
Yeah.
But when at GOML and you're rolling around with the crew, is it just kind of like picturing yourself as opening the door and everyone stops talking to look at you and you go, "What's good?" Or is it we're just walking in trying to have a good time? Like, tell me the vibe of NS invading Ontario.
I think for most of us, it's definitely just showing up, having a good time. I think the only people who were really expected to do well from Nova Scotia was me, Inky, and Rick. And then as well as our dark horse was Glumbo, who did make it out of pools. And I'm so proud of that guy, because he was trying and practicing every day because he really wanted to make it out of pools. And then he did, which is really awesome to watch. But as far as pressure, I think Inky felt a lot of pressure, and I feel really bad because a lot of that probably comes from me, because I see the way other people talk about like their best players from their region, and everyone's always like, "Oh yeah, who's the best unranked player?" and all this stuff, where people were always talking about Jmook. And I realized if I don't do that for Inky, no one's gonna do that for Inky. And I personally, when I play Inky, I feel like I'm playing against someone who is at the level of like a top 50 player. And I watch him play ranked, and he runs into, top 20 players and top 50 players and top 30 and like top 100 players, and he's just beating them repeatedly. So I have a lot of faith in that guy, and I think he felt a lot of pressure. I think he performed super well in the crew, and then I think the pressure got to him, and he drank too much, and he ruined his controller and his phone, and then he was mentally destroyed for bracket.
Yeah, the controller thing was definitely just, I saw that on the timeline and I was like, "Oh no, that is literally, it's Jmook, except this time it's why is Inky being punished? Why is Jmook being punished? It just sucks."
Dude. Yeah, I love Inky so much, and it sucks seeing him feel so much pressure, because I truly think he's so good, but I also feel bad because the way I talk about him probably doesn't help. I mean, not to like stir the pot, but I'm gonna stir the pot anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But so there was a pretty big upset on a certain Sheik player, and you asked Morse code who the Sheik player he was practicing with was.
I love that.
If you look at ranked, right, if you look at the ranked leaderboards right now, Morse code has, I think, 3 or 4 losses, and guess how many are Inky? It's more than one.
That is the trick, though, isn't it? One tournament or 2 tournaments, because Inky's like you, and probably safe to say a fair amount or all of you in NS. It's really hard to get to US Major, so it's not fit. Inky needs a Melee Stats showcase. There we go. I said it. I know people want Flash to go outside of Ohio, and it's great that Flash gets to go to SmashCon. Whoa, that's great. But why aren't we sponsoring Inky? Is it because flights are expensive? I know that.
It's partially flights are expensive, and it's partially every time he manages to get somewhere, I think the pressure gets to him and he buckles a little bit, which, like, fair enough, happens. But he's very much, I think the second he learns to get over his own mental game and just play the video game, he's going to be incredible. Because, like, watching him, I sat down behind watching him play friendlies against a ton of really good people, and it's like you see this person that everyone turns their head and looks at because they're like, "Oh, I recognize that person," as they're walking by the friendlies room, and then sitting next to him is Inky, who no one looks at, and Inky's winning more than he isn't, and it's like, okay, this is a problem. That when he's feeling comfortable, I think he's so good. But we don't have to keep talking about Inky. I feel like I'm gushing too much.
Well,
I'm just trying to be tossed to Inky's Jmook, you know?
That's the interesting dichotomy. There are hidden bosses who got a chance to show their stuff, and they did, but there are an equal or a bigger crowd of people who can have Jmook finishing second at Genesis 8 performances. They have that within themselves, but the mental or controller stuff, that's just as real as well. You show up somewhere and your controller gets ruined, you're just screwed for the rest of the weekend. All those things somehow happen to Inky at once, but that is the interesting thing, and that's why I'm listening intently, because I'm going, this is somebody who, it, you know, I believe you. I'm not saying that I don't believe you. You know what I mean? Inky's super talented. I'm saying that as the person who's been listening to you, and I'm more than happy to, to go along with it. Okay, not doubting at all. The rest of the Melee community, or at least the Redditors, they want to see it, kind of a thing, and it's hard to summon up the best performance of my Melee season, or better yet, of my life, right in the big moment, that kind of thing. And I think there's a fair amount of people who struggle with that. I mean, for you, was there ever a time in your 3,000 plus games as Captain Falcon in a Slippy tournament where you felt pressure, or is it really only for IRL stuff where you go, ooh, I could win, I blew it, dang?
I don't know if I ever really. I feel like I'm a little weird. I don't really ever feel pressure, and it might just be because I played so many tournament sets or whatever. I do get like when I'm playing against someone better than me, I do end up getting scared by the pressure they're putting on me or whatever, and they're like doing shield pressure or whatever. You okay?
Somebody said my tag. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. But I don't really get pressured as much as I get tilted sometimes when I feel like someone's playing and doing really stupid things and it's working against me. But I don't feel like I ever really buckle under the pressure. I don't know why. I couldn't really explain it, but I never really get nervous when I have to play a tournament set. It's always just like I'll play bad sometimes, but I never feel like it's nerves.
When you play against Petra, and you know Petra's doing fox things on you, there's no little moments there where you go, I'm feeling pressure to succeed against this right now because I quote unquote should be winning, maybe.
Not really. A lot of the times when I'm playing against people, even if I'm losing to someone I feel like I shouldn't, it's a lot of the times it's like, wow, I'm guessing wrong a lot. I'm doing things that aren't very good, and it just, yeah, I don't know. I don't really like get nervous and like play worse because I'm nervous or whatever. I've never really felt tournament nerves. I get like a little nervous sometimes, but usually by the time I sit down and I start moving, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just kind of, I'm chilling now.
Last question about Atlantic Melee peoples, about Rose, who claims that people go, your Falcon has these moments. Now, you've played against Rose's Falcon, yes?
I have.
Does Rose have these moments from your vantage point?
Yeah. I don't know. I've seen Rose play a few times. I think everyone has moments where they look like very, very good. And I think that just comes from most of us have watched a ton of Melee. So sometimes there'll just be a situation in your brain that you go, oh, okay, I think this could work here. And the intuition is just right. There's definitely a lot of people I know locally that will have situations that I'm like, if this was how good you played in every situation, you'd be significantly better than it. But it's just like specific situations where they're very, very good. And I think that's like that for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people think Melee is like this game where like you're so good at one thing that you're going to be that good at all the things and like at different levels. But some people genuinely just still get shield grabbed and they're top 30 in the world.
Yeah.
And it's like, I
don't know what to tell you.
I played a ranked set against IUW recently, and I went into his chat to say GG's because he beat me, but it wasn't like an awful set, but he beat me pretty cleanly. And I said GG's. He was like, "Why are you shield grabbing me?" And I just had to reply, "Why are you getting shield grabbed?"
Oh,
like, I don't know. Like it happens.
Hey, you're asking this as to a Falcon
game.
player, by the way. Like you have an expansive list of out of shield options. No. Anyway.
Yeah. Melee is just this crazy mystical game, and some things you could be incredible at, and then you still lose to the guy who sits in the corner, throws you off stage, and gimps you.
Yeah, yes. I lost 20 friendlies in a row versus Sean at our most recent event, Raise the Bar. And I was cycling through characters, Sean cycling through characters, but no matter what, Sean keeps beating me. It's finally, at long last, my Falcon versus his Falco. Both of our, characters not well practiced at all. I'm not a Falcon player, and Sean is not a Falco player, but one thing I know to be true, when it's last stock and you get the Falco off stage, they will side B to stage and very likely side B onto the stage instead of onto the ledge. So just preload that Falcon punch. And then we look at each other and I go, I feel like I want to stop here. This is finally the first friendly I've won and I want to be toxic today. This is my last game. GG's. And Sean's like, he's the nicest person you'll meet. He says to me, no, okay, I wanted to talk to you about your fox because I'm a box fox. He goes, I think you have some really good ideas. You just need to keep practicing. He's trying to be so nice to me, even though that just happened. And he has every way to go, you are the worst human being for quitting after losing 20 in a row, finally winning one friendly game with a stupid Falcon punch. You want to be all done. I'm not going to talk to you for the rest of the night. That's how nice of a person Sean is. So I'm telling a funny story, but I'm also trying to make it clear you want Sean to be in your life.
Appearance because he's screaming at me.
Oh, there's a kitty cat. I love cats.
Yeah, this is Hubert.
Hubert. Oh. Hi, Hubert. Oh my gosh, I know Hubert can't hear me. It's all good. I love cats so much. I'm allergic though, so I cannot actually own a cat. I can only go to people's houses and then connect with the cat. Me and Breakfast, shout out to Hada's cat, Breakfast. His name is Breakfast. Within 30 seconds, Breakfast is like in love with me. And I know I'm such a cat person, but I can't own one. It's the most heartbreaking thing of all time. However, Hubert is a great cat name as well. Was that your idea?
No. He was named Hugh by the shelter.
Okay. And
I kept that name.
Just figured add a Bert to Hugh.
Well, official name is Hugh, but I call him Hubert.
and he knows, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much he knows. He's not very smart.
No, I know what you mean. Some cats feel like they're very intelligent and cerebral. Other cats, I know a cat that can't even catch a mouse. It's really embarrassing. The dumbest cat of all time, but super cute though. That's the thing. I love cats so much. Okay, I want to ask you about rankings now because it is ranking season. When people go back and listen to this is before the top 50, or I should say the list of top 50 SSBM Melee Stats top 50 summer rankings of 2023 come out, whatever it actually is called.
Yeah.
I am very pleased to be talking to a ballot holder in you, Frog. Interestingly, one of my favorite dichotomies in this world, and it probably does have something to do with ETOS, just probably having too crazy of a ranking, kind of like a blur ranking, if you will, probably being denied the ballot, but I get to talk to you instead, so that's even better. And ETOS is a friend of the program, so shout out to ETOS. I do actually like you, but what I'm saying is that you have one, and you don't even post about Start GG stats about why Rob is the most popular player in Montana or something. So, Frog, why did you apply for a Melee Stats top 50 ballot, or like a ballot holder position? Why did you apply for that?
So I applied because I've been in the scene. I think I applied in like 2018 or 19 as well. But I applied because I've been in the scene for a very, very long time, and I've always wanted to expand what I like help around the scene, I guess, further outside of Atlantic Canada. But as far as like credentials, I feel like I'm qualified for it. I do all of the seeding for most tournaments in Atlantic Canada. Newfoundland does their own, but I help out with New Brunswick seeding. I help out with Nova Scotia seeding. Anytime we do big cross regional events, I do most of the seeding. I seed KOH. I'm the head Melee TO for Kings of Halle, which is the biggest regional in Atlantic Canada. I helped seed GOML very, very slightly. I didn't do very much at GOML. I won't try to claim that I did a lot. That was 99% Quiggles. But I gave a little bit of feedback in the channel, and I got a couple people seeded that weren't originally. And I feel like,
go.
and I just feel like I am a super stat monkey when it comes to looking at head-to-heads and placements and all that kind of stuff. I spent, I think, 5 hours making a spreadsheet for our local PR season of like, hey, here's everyone's head-to-heads in the local season. And I made a bunch of head-to-heads, and I was like, I tried to like emulate the top 100 system where they have a bunch of balloters and everyone gets ranked and everyone gets scaled. So I applied with all those credentials because I really just wanted to do it. I thought I'd enjoy doing it, and I guess they agreed. They gave me a ballot, and I spent, I think, 8 or 9 hours on it. Just a ridiculous amount of time, and then every time I would look at it, it'd be like, that looks kind of wrong, and then you have to recheck the head-to-heads, and you have to move people slightly. But I feel pretty good about mine. When they posted the PCA or whatever, the graph showing how different balloters were, I wasn't at the edges. I was near the middle, but I wasn't super close to anyone else except Huff. So I was like, okay, so I'm not like far off, but I'm also am sticking to my own principles and my own ranking ideals, which is what they want. But yeah, I don't know. I just applied because I thought I might fit the criteria, and they agreed, and I got to do ranking for the first time, which is really cool.
Heck yeah. So do you feel like you're going to continue to do this, or has the tasting of the most recent ire of Melee, Twitter, Reddit, and everywhere else make you go, I don't know if I want to deal with all of this. I know that Melee Stats people hear it the most, but Ambi's just casually posting the names of everybody who had a ballot, and I see your name and I go, oh, let's go Ennis Frog. But there are other people who see that post and go, now I know who to, well, maybe not dox, but people say some really mean things is what I'm getting at.
I've been on the internet since I was about 11 or 12 on a PC, so I'm no stranger to people saying mean things. It doesn't bother me even a little bit. I know what I do. I trust my own methods of the ranking, and if anyone has a problem with it, they can message me. I don't care. I can explain any of the rankings I did. I had to try really hard to try and be biased for Canadians, but I couldn't because they all just had good seasons, except none. But don't worry about him.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. You know, just like such a promising start in 2022, and then it's kind of been, I would say, voluntary break and not actually practicing all that much. That's what it feels like to me. None is just like a non-practice player.
Yeah, there was a couple people very early into my ranking where I was like, this person has been like perpetually top 20, top 30, and I'm looking at this player and I cannot justify putting them in the top 50. And it feels really bad because I don't even think they had like a bad season. They just, every single tournament, they underperformed a little bit. And it sucks. And I think most of the panelists agree with me. There is somebody that is not going to make the top 50 that is going to surprise a lot of people. If I had to put money on it.
Who's been consistently underperforming. So we're not talking about somebody like Mango, but we are
someone who has been in the top like 20s to 30s for like years and years.
20s to 30s.
If you look at the stats super hard, you can see it. He just it does not
wins. Yeah, okay. That we eliminated like 2% of the possibles. Sorry, I'm being mean.
People?
I'm being mean. Let's give it a 5%. That's a nice round number. Dang.
Yeah, no.
Because I don't want to automatically say somebody like Lucky because, you know, but also 20s to 30s. Because Axe has missed top 8s, but hasn't missed them by that much. So this is and was only ranked like 29th for that one summer ranking, then kind of fixed it back up at the end of the.
It's definitely not Axe.
Definitely not Axe. Okay, well one more guess. because I need to think of like a perennial player, not like, you know, somebody like Ben taking a backseat, because Ben has been around for a minute, but not forever and ever and ever, right?
Yeah.
We're talking like 2013.
Ben had a decent season. I think Ben will probably make the top 50 this year, if I had to guess.
Well, are you allowed to say that you have been in the top 50, or are you not allowed to say that?
I think I'm allowed to say it.
Dang,
I don't
I
know.
should have asked Ambi or Wheat. No, Wheat. I
Yeah,
should have
I
asked
mean,
Wheat if we're allowed to talk about your ballot specifically.
there's a ton of people who have been posting their ballot in the Melee Stats Discord and just posting where they had certain players. So I think as long as I don't post the whole or like tell the whole ballot, I can probably mention a few specific players.
You were also the
I can
person
say I
who
had
was
Zuppy very high.
Oh yeah, Zuppy's had
Zuppy had
some,
an incredible season.
Yeah.
I had Shroomed higher than I expected to.
Shroom is doing that thing now where instead of accidentally qualifying for summits, is accidentally qualifying for top 50. Like that's the new wave.
There's a few people I had lower than I expected to, and then there's a few people I had a lot higher than I expected to going in. I had Toussaint pretty high as well, based on the season I thought they had. But then looking at the stats, I was like, no, Toussaint had a very, very good season.
I mean, starting with a top 8 finish at Genesis 9, that just helps tremendously. That's going to help anybody for how they do the rest of the way. If they're making top 32s otherwise, you give them a lot of credit for finishing top 8 at a major / super major in the case of Genesis 9. All right, but I do need to guess. I feel so bad saying this because JFlex is a friend of the program. Is it JFlex?
I wouldn't say JFlex has been around forever. I don't remember where I had JFlex. I had JFlex somewhere between 45 and 55.
JFlex previously went by JSex and was playing against Mewtwo King when Mewtwo King used to live in New Jersey. So I'd say
maybe.
I'd say he's been around, but he's not been perennially top 20. I will say that. JFlex has been a top 100 player, but not a top 20 or top 30 player. So I'm just thinking of his past 3 years of history being a little bit better. Back in the day was not like that. Okay. All right. Well, I'm owned, I guess. The highest ranked Canadian player has to, of course, be not Amsa, but Moki, if I had to guess.
Yeah. I don't think the argument's there anywhere close for anyone to put Moki above or Amsa above Moki.
The head-to-head is kind of a first sign,
The head-to-head is really bad. And I think a lot of people went into this year because Amsa had such a hot end of 2022.
Oh, for sure.
Where he I think he won three of the 4 tournaments he entered at the end of the year or something.
Yeah.
Where he had like a crazy good season where he was beating everyone. Mm-hmm. And then this year he hasn't really beaten anyone.
It's been a little tough, yes. It's been like happy to make top 8. It's been Amsa's recent results. It's sad, but it's maybe Amsa needs to move back to Japan or something. I don't know.
Amsa has been about maintaining this year more than anything. I don't think, because Amsa I think has also attended more than he ever has before, and he's still consistent. I don't think he missed maybe 1 top 8, but I don't think he hasn't really underperformed anything. There's no double eliminated by Morse code Skurzo for Amsa.
Whoa.
He hasn't really had any bad tournaments. Like his worst losses are probably going to place like low 20s at the lowest.
Yeah, I mean these are people that Amsa will lose to, and it happens to be people like Cody and Moki who finish top 3 in a lot of these tournaments.
He's had a couple bad losses. He lost to Toussaint this season. He lost to Zuppy this season. He's lost to Triff, Laud. So there's a lot of top 10 people that he has lost to. But it's still a fairly good season for Amsa. It would blow my mind if he's not top 10.
Oh wait. Does Junebug make the top 50, Frog?
I think he was on the ballot, but there's a lot of people that were on the ballot. I feel like anything below, I think 42, in my opinion, could be anyone, because we had 69 people on the ballot, and I think literally from about 43 to 69 had pretty much the same results, where it was they all have a couple head-to-heads over each other and maybe 1 or 2 good wins over anyone else, and that's it. So it was extremely hard to rank that area. For me personally, in that area where they all had like one win over somebody ranked higher and then wins over each other, I tried to value consistency in that specific range, because there's a lot of people like Skurzo who had pretty miserable consistency but really, really high peaks. And it's like, how do you balance that versus someone like Crike who had incredible consistency but never really played anyone super high ranked and never really got any good wins?
Right, and that didn't get any super high ranked wins, you mean?
Yeah. I think Crike had like 2 sets against top 10 players and like 4 against top 20. But against the rest of the people that were on the ballot, Crike had an incredible list of head-to-heads. So it was like, how do you balance that versus someone who has multiple top 10 wins but worse head-to-heads?
Okay, but for Crike specifically, is that looking beyond locals? I know that there's a lot of regions that Crike can attend and has attended this year. The Tri-State's been plenty busy.
No, that's just an example of 2 extremes that I had within my ballot, where it's like Skurzo is someone who was very inconsistent this season with very high peaks, and Crike was someone who didn't really hit the peaks but was extremely consistent.
That's just tough. I wish Crike got more opportunities.
Ranking those 2 different kinds of like result lists is very difficult, because it's like, what do you value more? Do you value someone who can beat Cody once but probably gets like 33rds, or do you value someone who gets 17th every time? It's hard to say.
Well, when you get a win versus a top 10 player, I think that is going to, I'm going to value that a lot for certain tiers of those rankings. And you were alluding to this as well. You were talking about how things change when it's top 10, consistency and high peaks. Like those will mean differently to you as compared to 41 through 50.
Yeah.
So that's the question for you then. What do you feel is the most important when it comes to voting for the number 1 ranked player and then all the way down to the 10th best player? Like when it comes to 1 through 10, what is the defining part of that person's resume that elevates them to that level?
For me, number 1 was, I feel like for pretty much everyone, it's just about not losing. And there was 1 player this season who just didn't lose to anyone except 2 people or 3 people, I guess. So the number 1 I feel was pretty locked in. 2 and 3 felt pretty easy after GOML, to be completely honest, because I feel like it was a 3-horse race for first, and GOML went really well for one person, decent for the other, and really bad for the third. And I think that GOML, at least for me, locked in the top 3. And then the rest of top 10 sort of came down to, what do you value most? The ability to beat those top 3 or the ability to beat everyone else? And that's kind of, and it becomes even more complicated when the next 4 people are some of the most inconsistent players versus some of the or inactive players. So it's like, there's a
difference between Hungerbox and Leffen.
The next four people in the ranking, or 5 people, I guess, if you
and
5.
It's like the Plup Leffen people, just like, you went to 3, that's it, like go to more. No,
it's like Plup and Leffen barely attended, but when they did very well.
Right.
Although Plup also, how do you rank Plup when his best tournament had him beating Wizzy twice? How do you value a Wizzy win in this season? Because Wizzy didn't go into anything either.
Yeah.
Leffen only went to a few things, but how much do you want to value actually winning an event? Leffen won a tournament. Not many other people did that.
Including wins over top 3 to get to that.
Yeah, including wins over Zane to get there, over Cody to get there.
That matters.
So that tournament matters a lot. And I think that tournament in and of itself probably locked Leffen into top 5, if I had to guess. And then how do you rank Mango, who has thrown multiple tournaments outright, where he just, has gone Doc or he's gone Marth? Like, how do you completely ignore those games? Do you count them as half? What do you do with that, considering he's still, like 3-0 on Moki and he's up on Cody? And how do you rank him? Because when he's playing and he's trying, he's placing super well. He got second at GOML. He got, I think, third at another event.
He got second at Tipped Off.
Second at Tipped Off. Like he's when he's trying, he's placing super well.
Or finishing 97th in Genesis 9, like you said.
How do you rank Moki, who has a winning record on Cody, winning record on AMSA by a lot, winning record on HBox, but is losing to Mango and cannot beat Zane to save his life? Like it's very.
Some of those sets are closer than others. It's not like
they are close.
It's not like Hungry Box Zane. What are you saying?
I mean. If I had to put money on what's going to happen more, HBox beating Zane or sooner, HBox beating Zane or Moki beating Zane.
What? No.
Money's probably on HBox.
No. Oh.
He's done it before.
Oh my gosh. I know that you're right. You're right. And Moki hasn't beaten Zane yet or yeah, very not many times.
I don't know.
If there's a win, it's because we're seeing a don't test me kind of thing, not a yeah.
As much as I say that, the second Moki beats Zane, I am popping off with everyone else.
Of course.
Moki
but you
one of my
are
favorite people, one of my favorite players.
Of course. No, that should go without saying. People listening, this is a Canadian trying to be objective and putting money objectively on the other person.
I feel like Moki had an incredible season, even though he never closed it out against Jmook or Mango or
Zane.
Yep. But his records against literally everyone else speak for themselves.
At least you can feel better about the fact that it wasn't as if Moki only struggled against Mango. That'd be really funny for Moki to win 3 tournaments, be ranked number 1, and for Mango to be like, I have a winning record on him. What's going on? I almost feel to a certain point that Mango has to declare prior to the start of a year, I'm going to be playing this level of serious, and we just put him into the Mango tier if it's anything less than 100%, and it will be less than 100%. So then we just introduce the Mango tier and just call it a day. If local rankings are willing to have rank 0 or like our top player, was just playing secondaries this entire season or whatever. I don't like this whole Mango needs to be on the rankings because he qualifies, but also we need to give him Johns for Genesis 9 and for LSI. LACS, excuse me. LSI was last year. Yeah. The LSCS 5 this year. I do not like that. I don't like
sandbagging against him personally.
Right. So, and I would as well if I were a ballot holder, which I don't want to be a ballot holder, but I'm just saying,
I didn't count Genesis, but I did count the Marth uses, because Genesis, he told TOs and he told everyone that he was going doc before he entered, and he was seeded as such. I believe he was like 16 or something seed, because he got a bit overseeded because they're like, oh, it's Mango, but he was seeded low because he was playing doc.
And once again, just one of the weirdest freak things that happened is the Taj once again upsetting Mango and winners at a Genesis event. Just one of those little like circular things. It's just, I love it so much. But we didn't get to see a repeat of the losers, Mango versus Taj. That was that was sad that we didn't get to have that.
Yeah. He did lose to Mateo.
There was a moment there. I was watching the Eagles playoff game that Saturday night with Wheat and Blur and Aaron, who I just refer to as Aaron. He TO's Riptide. So Aaron, we were all watching the Eagles game. Aaron's not a big Eagles fan, but me, Wheat, and Blur, in the order of, well, actually, am I a bigger Eagles fan than Wheat? That's a good question. I want to say that I am, because I know how much Eagles content I consume, but I can't speak for a Melee statistician who I know makes spreadsheets of stuff. But does that make Wheat a bigger fan than me if I spend more time? This is like the Jesse Wheat rankings. What matters more? Is spreadsheet making a bigger sign of being a fan? Or is spending a lot of time consuming content related to the team makes you a big... Oh my gosh. Anyway, I will declare myself unbiased and objectively the biggest Eagles fan, then Wheat, then Blur, then Aaron. But Aaron said, Mango just lost to Mateo. Blur's like, I'm texting Mango. Let's get him over here. It didn't happen. I just had a super fun time watching that. And then I was also very sad about Mango, but I thought if this is how it's going to go for the rest of the year, this is going to be annoying for both ranking seasons. And it's turning out to be correct. This is annoying mostly because Mango has had his
Yeah.
season be what it is. It's
It,
so annoying.
it's also tough because it's like, how well do you value beating Mango's secondaries for the people who did that? Because it's like S2J is best. Like, if S2J had a legitimate Mango win, he has a very, very good case for like top 15, 16. But it's like, you can't really value it that way because Mango kind of tossed it to him, and it's tough because it's like, if you give that to S2J, that's punishing everyone who Mango doesn't toss sets to, and getting them ranked lower. And if you don't give it to S2J, it kind of sucks because like he just sat down and played, and he beat the person who was in front of him, and it's not his fault. So it's a very shitty situation to rank, but
Yes. Well,
got through it.
well,
Decided a way I was going to do, or I was gonna take at those situations. Ended up getting there, and then I think the top 9 is very, very obvious for who it's going to be. It's going to be the people who are winning tournaments or getting really close, and then I think the number 10 spot is just also pretty obvious. I think the top 10 is pretty locked in personally, unless Plup doesn't qualify, because there's a possibility that he's been excluded. Um, I don't know, maybe. But if Plup is in the top 50, the top 10 is going to be very, very obvious. And if he's not, it's going to be a little bit more interesting because I think the number 11 and 12 spot could go either way.
that's very interesting. That's awesome. I like this. I like the obvious thing, and for me to
Yeah,
be very confused on who the top 10 are off the top of my head. I love this feeling. I want to go ahead and move on to probably one of the last topics that we got going on here.
sure,
You
sure.
signed an NDA for this, and now
I did a long time ago.
you are able to DA. You can disclosure agreement all over this. So
Yes.
I will link this to the people watching, not live on Twitch, because all of you NS people probably know about this already.
Yeah, they
However,
they do. They
however,
do.
to the viewers watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform, this will be in the description links. What is Tusley?
So Tusley is a company that approached a group I was in for my school's group. I think 3 years ago now, and they were looking for people who were experts on specific games to give them advice on how to proceed within working in the gaming space. And I applied, and they hired me. And since then, I've been just moving up and doing more and more and more for them because I've really liked working with them. So Tusley is a bracket making software app. It is a phone app based
Oh, is that
thing that
right?
works entirely in app. It is very similar to Smash GG in terms of what it does and what it is trying to do, in that you open it up and you can make a bracket, you can invite people to it, you put it in it, you seed it, you run it. The main difference is that each individual player can just use their phone to input, scores, pick their characters, ban their stages, and do all of the match procedure within their phone, and then you report it on the phone. And it's the main goal is to reduce the strain on TOs and other stuff for both online and LAN tournaments. There's a couple really interesting features that we've been able to put out and put into the app. A couple things that I'm very proud of putting in is a setup or a station number, where if you're running a LAN tournament through this, you pick your stations, how many stations you have, you number each of them, and then the app will automatically assign players in certain matches to stations, and it'll tell them which station to go to. They play, they report on their phone, and then as soon as they're done and they've reported, the application knows that setup's empty, puts the next setup there. So you don't have to constantly have a TO or a pool captain calling sets, matching sets, and it can make locals and stuff like that happen very quickly and very easily. Is
Wow.
the goal.
That does sound very, very nice. Can you sell merch through Tusley?
Not yet. We are still very, very early in beta. We're still testing. We still have bugs and issues, but as we get through them, we're trying to add more and more features. I know that's stuff that that's something that we've talked about. It's not something that's super soon, because our most important thing is we want to make sure the app works. We're trying to expand to more games and do a bunch of other interesting things with it. We have a lot of ideas for how to make stuff that no other, bracket making app, because if you Start GG is actually quite good compared to a lot of the competitors.
Right.
I use it all the time. I think it's great. The only thing is, every time people have been asking for an app for years, and they do not seem interested in making that. So this is that. But there's a ton of features and stuff that other apps or other places, like there's Battle Fee, there's Tournament, there's a ton of other tournament making places that just kind of don't really do anything. They just give you a bracket and that's it. And that's not what we're trying to be. And we're trying to improve overall to what like fantasy sports and sports leagues apps have, because they have a ton of features. Like there's a specific app that we started off basing it on, that's for sport leagues, and just like pickup leagues for basketball or whatever, where someone writing the scorecard puts it into the app, and then at the end of the game or whatever, that you've played a pickup game of basketball, or potentially in a league with like a team versus some other team that the app scheduled for you. It tells you all the stats for every player, and then you have a player card where you have all of their stats of every game and every tournament that you've ever played, and that's all within the one tournament app. And that we want to have something like that, but obviously that takes a long time to build. So we've been working at it for 3 years now, and just last year we started doing like a little closed test, and this year we're finally trying to get more into open tests and larger tests and get more people involved. So.
Okay. But what about what about making money off of this? Because I know that selling merch is just a small part of how StartGG makes money, but I don't see a lot of ads, to be perfectly honest with you. Maybe it's because I have ad block on my computer and my phone is too small to see anything, because they're not going to, the screen will not adapt to show me an ad on there that I can actually see. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know how StartGG makes money. So that's what I'm wondering. Where's the money making angle in this?
We have a few plans for making money off of it. Obviously, we're going to have like our own merch. We're going to have plans as far as. So one thing that we're going to offer for sure that I know is so for online tournaments, Smash doesn't do a lot of paid online tournaments, but there's a lot of other games such as Call of Duty, like does a lot of tournaments where you have to pay entry, Counter-Strike, where you have to pay entry, and a lot of players in tournaments and stuff like that feel uncomfortable, because usually you have to DM it to the organizer directly, and then the organizer has to get all of it, and then they have to discuss payouts and stuff. One of the features that we're going to be doing is allowing the organizer to select that we control all the payouts, we control all the buy-ins, and we get a small cut when we do that. Obviously, that is not forced. TOs and organizers are still going to be able to do all of the payment, accepting, and stuff on their own, as far as paying players, getting money, and receiving money, and stuff like that. That's one thing that we have planned, and we have a few other plans that I'm not fully allowed to talk about, but there are some plans for making money. But
I just don't want to see it die off, because you know it's really cool, but it's like, well, dang.
Yeah.
We forgot the part where we have to sell this.
Yeah. So one thing, we kind of want to have a membership style service that maybe we have like some premium tournaments that you can enter if you have it, that have like some small prize pool or something like that, or there might be some premium features that like have us doing things for tournament organizers, or certain things that might not be available without premium.
Seed your tournament.
Custom seeding, custom or something. We have a lot of features.
We'd be so mad if you could seed Melee tournaments through there. Like, give that back to me.
Yeah, no, we have a lot of features that are planned, and a lot of things. Nothing is final yet, as far as what we're gonna make for everyone, what might be in and I don't even know if this membership service isn't even final. It may not happen.
Sure. No, this is
Not
all.
sure. There's been
We're
a ton
talking.
of
We're not
yeah,
actually
yeah,
declaring. Yes.
yeah. No, we've had a ton of discussions about how to monetize it, and some of them I'm allowed to talk about, some of them I'm not. So
It's all
I can't
good.
I
It's
can't
all
say
good.
too much. But
It's all good. It's
there are
cool that
plans.
there's a
It's not
new
just yeah.
Start GG killer out there that's actually been around for 3 years, but it's finally starting to see the light just a teeny bit. Just a little
Yeah.
bit of advice: don't declare yourselves the Start GG
No, that's
killer. Like, what was
100%
it
no.
again? Sumo.gg. Oh,
Yeah, that
what a
launch
time that
felt
was.
very bad. I have nothing but respect for StartGG. I know a lot of people like to complain about it, but I've used it for hundreds of tournaments, like hundreds and hundreds, both as a player and organizer. I have nothing but respect for it. I just think there's room and there's demand for an app like a phone app, and
Right.
they don't
No,
seem interested
we're
in
all
doing it.
mobile users
So
on the wave. I mean, shout outs to Jade for having a tablet to do a lot of that stuff at Genesis 9, but without that it's just tough to do on the phone. It is tough.
yeah,
140. I finally heard something coherent. It sounded like background noise this entire
yeah,
time.
Valorant going on in the background.
Oh, Valorant. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't. I swear I've watched zero Valorant. As soon as I see on a Mango stream or Mango YouTube upload that there's something besides Melee happening, I just kind of make that. You know that guy pulling off his headset with that disgusted face meme. That's me. I immediately jump out of there.
I liked Valorant when it first came out. I
Mm.
actually played quite a few games with Mango when Valorant was first coming out.
We're
But
talking about Pokemon being a game that you played when you were very young, and I know that Smash was one of the first games you played. I grew up on the N64, and we were a generation behind. So I was born in '95, so theoretically I could be getting the GameCube right when it comes out in 2001 as a 6-year-old or whatever.
okay,
But we don't got it like that in the Wall House, so we
I
just
don't
had a
have my N64
64.
next to me.
We have it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so what
thought I
I'm
might have
telling
my
you
N64
is
next
that I
to me,
grew up
but I don't.
on Smash 64, so freaking love that game, and grew up on Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Did not have an expansion pack, so it took me a long time to get into Majora's Mask, but I'm playing through Majora's Mask right now with my kids. They love it. I love it. I've played Majora's Mask before, but I'm sharing it with my kids because they want to watch me play it. I said, "You sure you don't want to experience this for yourselves?" And they say no, and I go, "Well, this is more fun than watching Paw Patrol. So yeah, let's play Majora's Mask." Anyway, and then grew up on GoldenEye, Mario Kart 64, that kind of thing. But I have mostly in the past 10 years of my life, I've really only cared about Smash, one or two other games that will draw my attention for a week or two, and then I'll go, all right, nice little Melee vacation. Now it's back to Smash. Now it's back to Melee. That's just how it's been for me. For you, when you look at other games out there, because they exist, they are real. And thank goodness, I guess. I don't think I want the entire gaming community to be just on Smash. I think I like the size of us at the moment. What other games do you like playing or watching?
Dude, I have so many eras of games. Yeah, hearing you talk about N64, I have a drawer of like 50 N64. I'm gonna grab it.
Yes, this is awesome. See, that's what people don't understand. 64 was obviously not as popular as PS1, but 64 is just goated with the sauce. Look at that. See?
Yeah, no,
How can you not
I
see that and
also
go, cartridges?
I
Yes.
also grew up. This is one of my favorite games of all time, Banjo Tooie. I
Mm,
also have Banjo Kazooie.
nice.
There's Smash, Ocarina of Time,
Mm.
Donkey Kong 64. Yeah, no,
Mm.
I have been a massive gamer my entire life. Whether I started on the N64, I then went from the N64 to a PS2. I went from PS2 to Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. I had both because I had divorced parents. What do you want? And from that, I went to PC. I bought my first PC when I was 11 from a babysitting job to play Minecraft in
Yeah.
2011.
Yeah.
So I bought Minecraft
Oh,
very, very, very early. I had
did
Minecraft on
did
a
you
laptop.
migrate your account? I finally migrated mine. I haven't touched
I did.
Minecraft in 10 years, and I
I did
finally
migrate my
migrated.
account. No, I bought Minecraft for $10 before they had beds.
Oh yeah,
It
no,
was
you got
very,
yours in super
very
early. It
early
was
into Minecraft.
$26 for me. It was 26 for me. By then they had Java and Bedrock, I think was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah. But and then I played Minecraft pretty much exclusively on my PC for a while, and then I got into Counter Strike with a buddy of mine, and I have 3,000 hours in Counter Strike.
Jeez.
I was very into Counter Strike. I had a Counter Strike era. I went from Counter Strike to Melee. Melee was my next big game after Counter Strike. Um, all the while I was playing Counter Strike, I also kind of had a Dota era. I have like 2,000 hours in Dota 2, and I'm still miserably bad at the game.
Oh, I'm sorry, kind of. Oh, I'm bad. 2,000 hours. My
No,
bad.
that 2,000 hours in Dota is nothing. All right, anyone who
I'm
plays
sure.
that game probably has 5 times that.
Oh, I'm
It's
sure.
ridiculous.
But that's still just a lot to
A
think
lot of
about
that comes
spending.
from custom games, though.
Mm.
When Dota Auto Chess first came out, I was in on that very, very early. Um,
Oh,
uh,
let's go, Hubert.
he's chasing a bug up the wall. Um, I was in on Dota Auto Chess very early, so I have a ton of hours in that. And then when it became, TFT and stuff, I haven't really played it since because I don't know, just got over it. I had a big Valorant era when that game first came out. I got myself all the way up to rank, 501, and I tried to get higher, and then I lost a game, and then I got really mad, and I lost like 6 games, and then I gave up. So I never hit the highest rank, but I did hit the second highest rank.
Nice.
What else have I had big eras
Don't
in?
ask Frog about IBPK to 14 stickers. Got it. I will not do that.
No, I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that. So I was in Counter Strike pretty early, and as you know, Counter Strike has a lot of expensive skins. So if you look up the iBuyPower Katowice 2014 holographic sticker right now, the price that it'll tell you is probably somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000. I had 4 of them. I sold them for about 300 each. They are now worth about almost 100K each.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
You're like that Bitcoin person in like 2020 going, "Oh dang, I shouldn't have sold this," because now it's worth an absurd amount of money.
Yeah. So that's pretty bad. That's part of my my gaming history. But
Petra, you've been here the entire time, and you heard me ask the question about, do you get annoyed, Frog, playing Petra? And Petra said in chat, that was a low blow, Jesse. And then you're telling me not to ask. But when you say don't ask it, I feel like I have to ask. Anyway.
Yeah, but I've had tons of different eras for different games where I play. More recently, I played a ton of Binding of Isaac recently. I recently 100%ed that game, which anyone who's played that game will be able to tell you that there's a lot going on in that game. Takes a lot of time to do that. It's a very difficult game, at least towards the end.
That was the first game I ever watched live on Twitch for some reason. I think I just went onto the homepage and I go, "Is this what this is? What's this?" And I clicked on somebody's random stream. I don't even know who it was. I could not tell you. But I remember specifically because of that, the Binding of Isaac's, the character's face. That's
it's Bible Thump.
It's very unforgettable.
Yeah, I think the first thing I ever watched on Twitch was Minecraft Hunger Games.
Battle Royale 100 when they had like 100.
Like 2011 or maybe even earlier than that. No, that would have been Justin TV then. I think I don't remember. I was in Twitch.
I never knew it as Justin TV. I always have known it as Twitch. So I've been somewhat slow getting onto things, but I'm just busy having a good time with whatever I happen to be playing, and it might take a minute for the noise to get to me. But with Smash stuff, I was pretty much always, oh, they're probably going to make a new Smash game. I'm the first person to watch the E3 trailer on YouTube and that kind of thing. Yeah. Follow the Smash Dojo page and check it every weekday at about 8 o'clock in the morning because that's when the post would go live. Let's go. Yeah. So that there were things that I paid attention to as they were happening, as they were about to come out, but I just simply don't have, and nowadays don't have the energy and I don't want to support Nintendo by watching their I will for if I feel the need to watch any of their directs, I won't watch Nintendo's video because I know better
You
than to
watch
do that.
someone's
I'm
reaction video
watching
to
somebody's reaction of it because I know that person's not paying Nintendo for the right to watch that and react to it.
it.
Heck yeah, let's go piracy, baby. It is legally and morally correct to always screw over Nintendo in all the little
Yeah.
ways. And I would allegedly encourage anyone to do the same. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, but I've had tons of different eras of games that I'd play at certain points, but Melee is the only one that I always come back to. Even when I'm having like a super hard Melee era, I'll play a ton of Melee, and then I'll maybe hop to something else as a break. But even when I'm having another, like, if I'm super into Counter-Strike or I'm super into Valorant for like a month or a couple of weeks or something, I'm like, whenever I'm not doing that, I'm hopping on unranked. I'm hopping on ranked and queuing random games and just playing Melee.
Even if I'm
Ever
into
since
other things, I always come back to at least watching Melee. There was that post that somebody made recently. It was like, if you're not playing Melee anymore, we don't want you, kind of a thing.
I
and
so
and
agree
then
with that.
and then the person walked it back, and I dropped a follow because that I think that the walk it back statement was genuine and heartfelt. That was a cool little turnaround moment. Okay, lesson learned for that person. But what I'm getting at is I feel like I don't play the game as much as I quote unquote ought to. I go to my locals most of the time, unless my kids get sick, which they did, and then we were all sick for 2 weeks, and I missed like 3 events. I'm
So
obviously
sad.
not mad. Anyway,
Yeah,
I try to do all that, but I don't practice as much as I feel like I ought to. And when I try practicing, I quickly go, ugh, I wish I was playing against somebody. Practicing feels like
yeah. I don't practice.
not what I want to do. So that's me, right? And I won't always play the game when I go back to Melee, but I'm always trying to watch the big stream of each weekend. At the very least, know what's going on. If even if I can't sit down and watch it, I have to see what's going on the Start GG. Obviously, Melee Stats Discord. You already know. Go to the appropriate channels to see what's going on, what people be saying, what shenanigans people be up to. What's Mango doing? Mango in jail. Check X. That doesn't sound as good as check
That is
Twitter,
such an old meme.
but
Oh,
I'm mixing in the X. See what I
yeah,
did there?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did see that. I remember
Yes.
seeing that meme in like the first tournament I ever watched, and I believed it the first time. So I'm
Oh.
sure there's still people that see that now and they believe it.
I mean, there are people who are young enough to follow that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, not OG Kid, because OG Kid is definitely in the scene enough to know better than that. But people be like that. I've had to, like, in Twitch chat, correct people on quote unquote basic stuff. So anytime I get tempted to get annoyed at a commentator for explaining something quote unquote basic, it's really always, there's literally somebody who might be watching this as a first time viewer, especially for grand finals where there's 30,000 or 40,000 people watching. That's probably true. Maybe not necessarily during pools when only 2,000 people are watching, because I could probably name all 2,000 of those people if I concentrated hard enough,
Yeah,
because those are the real ones. I mean, you're in
yeah.
there, I'm not really in there. I just drop in every now and again. I want to see what's going on.
No, I don't think I've
Exclamation point
ever really.
bracket. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think I've ever really had a problem with any commentators. The only time I ever really get upset is if someone is just like talking and doesn't really know what they're talking about. But like all of the Melee commentators are like super into Melee, and they usually either are very entertaining, very funny, or they know what they're talking about. So I've never really had an issue with anyone.
Aw, that's great. That means that we're doing a good job overall of picking good people to commentate. And thank you to Petra for the encouragement on the practice stuff. Yep.
No,
Practice for a little bit, but then you play. Yes, to me, Melee is more of a game. It's not as much of a competitive thing when I'm specifically playing. But what I ultimately want, and what I will ultimately try and do, is practice enough to where I can move the way that I want to. Maybe I'm not beating anybody special like a top 100 player, but at least I can wave shine, because I've tried practicing, and it is slow going. It's a very slow going process. I feel like I'm tripping mostly on my biggest perennial habit, which is pressing buttons too soon and undershooting. Like I'm a pressing buttons too soon and attacking too soon kind of a player. So that's me. Anyway, it's all good. Frog, I want to ask you, since I don't have a Patreon specific question from the Patreon supporters, there's always an overarching sentiment on a friend of mine, a patron of mine, Neil, aka Bard from Baltimore scene, who actually recently is not going to be able to has passed the torch on of running their weeklies to somebody else because Neil lives in DC now. Bit of a drive. Oh, for you, yes, that's a 2.5 hour Canadian drive. No, 2 hour Canadian drive. No, it depends on traffic.
Yeah, that's still long.
2 hours,
I
2 hours for
wouldn't want
traffic,
to
and you could get there in an hour 20 if you're lucky, if traffic happens to be okay. But
yeah,
it is a tough turnaround otherwise.
yeah. I wouldn't want to TO something I have to drive more than an hour for.
Exactly, and that's a weekly tournament. Okay, that's and you're working and all that other stuff. Anyway, Neil always wants to know what makes you want to go to a tournament besides the obvious stuff like melee or the city. Like what's a kind of like a more specific thing than like the obvious answers, I
Oh,
guess.
for me, it's 100% the people. It's 100% the people. I joined the scene when I was 15 and extremely antisocial and extremely obnoxious to be around. And the people in my local community are the only reason that I think I'm a somewhat tolerable human being. Um, and just getting, I think the melee community specifically has so many cool and interesting people that just have interesting and cool things to say, and that you can learn a lot from them. And I think especially in my local scene, we've become so close over the past like year. We've all become huggers, which I love so much. We all hug each other when we say goodbye. It's great. We don't really have a venue that'll let us do weeklies right now, so we're pretty much just like, we have multiple house tournaments where someone just opens their house to like 16, 17, 18, like 16 to 20 people, and someone will make I'll give a specific shout out to Griff in my local scene, who has done 3 house tournaments where he just makes a complete load of food, where he just makes a ton of food. He's done a pierogi weekly where he made like 200 pierogies or something. He's done soup where he made a giant bowl of soup, and there's just kind of food, and you get to hang out with a ton of people. This Saturday, everyone is driving like an hour to go to someone else's house, and he made like Rice Krispie squares. He made a ton of snacks. He made a ton of stuff, and we're all going there to hang out, play melee, and it's just a definite. We've all become so close, and just getting to hang out with people and make friends and talk to people is absolutely why I go to tournaments.
So wholesome. That's wonderful. Petra definitely calling Cap a little bit in the chat, but I think Petra also is.
We haven't had entry fee weeklies in Nova Scotia in like 6 years.
Oh well,
So
yeah.
Petra
There
is
you go.
completely capping. And I have missed, I think, 2 events, and it's because I had COVID.
Yeah.
I show up. People can tell you, when I show up to an event, I just talk to people. I don't play any friendlies, like, at all. I'll play my tournament sets. I usually make it to the end of the tournament because, I play more than anyone else. But I can play melee on netplay at home. When I go to an event in person, I'd rather hang out with my friends, make new friends, talk to new people, make sure that they feel welcome, make sure that they keep coming back.
Politely ask for hugs, get consent, give hugs. Yep.
Yep. You always have to. You gotta ask, and then once they say yes once, then you just start hugging them. But you gotta ask for the first one.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you already understood that before I said it. I was thinking of
Oh,
somebody.
absolutely.
I was thinking of
No.
somebody in our scene in our region, excuse me, who is a hugger. And you don't necessarily love it the first time because you go, I usually reserve hugs for people that I have a stronger relationship, but this feels so good.
Yeah, no, it's always like when I was at GOML on
Introverted
the
people
boat.
love hugs. Some introverted people.
Yeah,
I'm an introverted people who loves hugs.
yeah, I was at GOML on the boat. I was feeling the drinks a little bit. I was walking every time I would like walk up to someone that I've met online or that I like have had it like in person at my tournaments, I'd be like, "Yo, are you a hugger?" And you just gotta ask, and then when they say yes, they get a big hug. Secrets specifically, shout out to Secrets. That guy bought me a drink after I gave him a hug. Love
What
that
about
guy.
Edwin Budding? Because Edwin Budding is not necessarily a hugger. Not necessarily. There's got to be a special moment where it can happen.
I don't think I met any of the melee stats people on the boat.
That is so
I don't know
unfortunate.
Yeah, I on the boat. I think I didn't really meet many people on the boat. I kind of stuck to my people because we were sad because it was the last day I was going to see a lot of them because they live in Newfoundland. Which, despite being we are the closest people in Newfoundland, it is expensive as shit and hard as shit. It is so expensive to get there. So probably wasn't going to see them for a while. So I was hanging out with a lot of them on the boat. But I did meet a few
Totally
people.
fair.
Did meet a few people on the boat for the first time. I got to meet Zane or Pengu on the boat, and we had a quick chat because we ended up we ran into each other on ranked all the time, and we'd have very good sets. And he is very good at melee. I think a lot of people don't know this, but Pengu is very good at melee.
That's a good thing to assume about a lot of the people who are kind of like,
yeah,
and like it's a meritocracy. They kind of get there because they are good at the game at some point, at least. So everybody seems to have good fundies up there.
A lot of people think like the stats people and the commentators and that like most of them are only wanted to do more because they got very good at the game and they were like, oh, I see how much better I have to get to this next level and I don't want to do it. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, where it's like, oh, I have to practice tech chasing for an hour a day to even like level up a little bit. What if I didn't do that and instead just hung out
And made a sick read on on the down throw. No more reaction.
If I just guess and then I have a roulette wheel chance of winning any set. But I don't know. So I got to meet Ipengo on the boat. I met Freezus on the boat. I met Fitzy on the boat. I met Yokai Nels on the boat. But other than that, I didn't really meet people on the boat.
I love that Yokai Nels got there despite not having a passport. And
yeah, that was crazy.
Google really screwed over Yokai Nels because you should be told you need to fly with a passport. You could drive without one. That's a big detail. Jeez.
Although speaking of Yokai Nels, we had a very, very large amount of alcohol in my hotel room because we had it from last year, and one of the people who was like sort of local just held on to it and brought it back this year. So we were trying to get rid of it. And I told Yokai Dells to come by my room and he could have a ton of Bacardi. And he was like, bet. So then Yokai Nell shows up to my room with, I think their tag is Come God 420 and S2J. So I just had S2J in my hotel room, just drinking Bacardi. And it was like, all right, this is the most insane people that have just walked into my room. But you know what? I got Bacardi. Let's hang out. So that happened for like a couple hours after the boat on Sunday. But
in the wee hours
and then he fell asleep on my floor because he drank too much Bacardi. But
yep,
sick guy.
That's so fun. It's again, these are the sort of things that you'll be able to continue to, like, when you think about why do I do this, because every now and again you'll have that thought, why do I do this? Oh, right, because I love the community, I love the game. It is a great combination. Like I said, for our region, 717 has never been in a healthier spot, according to the people and according to my own living through since I'd say 2021, the beginning of 2021, started to get really involved, at least with being in the Discord and saying to the people, this is so cool to be here. And they're going, nothing's happening right now. Why are you happy to be here? Anyway, I was new at the time. It's been super great. I really hope that sort of thing continues to happen, but we've lived through the worst, which means that we're capable of going through the ringer again if we happen to have only 1 or 2 tournaments a month, if we had to go back down to that kind of level, or not at all, because we all have become important in each other's lives. Just like you said, like these are more than just the people that you happen to play against when you go to an event or even play online. These are people that you have real relationships with.
Yeah, I hang out with some of these people all the time. We're going to a bar tomorrow. Like, I hang out with these people all the time, even outside of Melee now, which was never something that I did before, like this year. So it's very much we are at a state where we are closer than I think we have ever been as a scene, and I think the scene's healthier for it. I have like 70 people signed up for KOH so far, and last year at this point I had like 40. So we're looking good in terms of attendance. In terms
the
of
right direction. Very nice. It's the same weekend as the off season 2 though. So why should people go to Kings of Halley instead of the off season 2?
If you are going to win a major and make, the $30,000 pot, you shouldn't come to Kings of Halley. You should go to the off season. You should get your bag.
But that's like 5 people.
That's like 5 people.
The rest
if you're
of
not,
us.
And you're close to the northeast of North America, Kings of Halley 6 is a regional that is we're trying to get bigger. We got seafood, if you're a seafood fan. We have donaires, which if you have never had a donaire in your life, you're missing out. We have some of the greatest pizza places. No one talks about Atlantic Canada pizza, but we also have garlic fingers, which literally nowhere else has, which everyone just calls it cheese bread. It's not cheese bread, it is garlic.
But it has cheese also?
It's basically a pizza with like garlic sauce and cheese.
That sounds like
you put it in donaire sauce, which is like a sweet sauce. It's so good. Or you dip it in donaire sauce. It's so good.
Oh my gosh, that just sounds like the garlic parmesan cheese sauce pizza at Domino's, which must be vastly inferior to the real thing, but that's what that sounds like right now.
Yeah, after having garlic fingers and donaire sauce, you might not want to go home. Cap says in chat, and I gotta agree with that. We got lobster, and it's pretty cheap here. We got a lot of oysters too, if you're an oyster fan.
Go back to lobster.
We got some loud people who are very, very down to drink. I think there's a group of people organizing and planning an emo night on Friday night of KOH. If that's your style, we're probably gonna have an after party at a bar. I'm in talks right now. It's pretty likely. It's gonna. I can't promise it, but it's very, very, very likely going to be round robin pools. So no one's going 0-2. Everyone gets to play a good amount of sets. And just if you want to go to a tournament that feels like it's a big tournament with a lot of people, but it's just everyone having a good time, and it feels like a local regional, that's our goal. Our goal is to have like a regional feel with like major production. And I think we're going to get there. And I think it's a great time if you're close. The flights from Toronto are disgustingly cheap if you book them sooner rather than later. It was like $115 round trip. Last time I checked, it was disgusting. If you're in Maine, it's only like an 8-hour drive, which I say only, but that's not that bad.
No, not all airports. YYZ. Why do I always have to specify? Unbelievable.
I believe we are the YTZ.
No. Wait, not YHZ. It's YTZ.
We are YHZ.
Okay, I was about to say no. I thought Toronto's airport was the YYZ.
Yeah, but Halifax is YHZ.
Yeah. But why?
It might be more expensive now because it's been a while since I've checked. But
hey, no worries. What weekend are we talking about? Just to be clear, is it September 21?
It's September 22nd to 24th. Right. I believe the Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
But you got to fly on Thursday,
If you arrive Thursday night, or if you arrive Friday morning, Friday morning's probably the best time to arrive, but because we don't open venue till I think 4 p.m. on Friday.
101, 111, 155. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's not very expensive.
Oh my gosh.
It's not very much. It's half the price of my Toronto flight, which is why a lot of the Toronto people I've been talking to seem very encouraged and very interested, and I've been super grateful to all of them, especially all the people that were in the crew battle. We can run it back.
Oh my gosh.
But no, I'm putting a lot of work into KOH this year. I'm very excited for it. All my volunteers are putting in a ton of work, and yeah.
Okay, flying out at 6:55 is a very mean thing. I'd have to drive overnight, but I did do that in order to fly out to Vancouver. That's what I'm saying. I drove to Toronto to fly to Vancouver for Battle of BC. Then that was to save money because I couldn't fly from Philly to Vancouver, and that was also going to be multiple layovers, and I just wanted to fly direct. And this is a nonstop. It's $111. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's only like an hour and 50-minute flight from Toronto to Halifax.
Right. Because you know how it is. It's like it's just so ridiculous to drive there, but then all of a sudden you fly and you go, oh, that's not so bad.
Well, it's because to drive you have to go up Halifax or up Nova Scotia and then right.
Oh yes, that's right. Sorry, I forgot what it looked like exactly. I knew that there was something to that effect, that there was going to be an up and down situation, but I forgot how severe it was. You're right, it is quite severe.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
You'd have to build such a long kilometer bridge in order to be able to gap all that stuff, and nobody's going to do that.
There's a ferry, but
oh, there is. Oh, that's hype.
Yeah.
Well, that's not worth it either.
Like Maine, but
oh wait, the ferry goes all the way down.
There's a ferry that goes to New Brunswick, and there's a ferry that goes to Maine.
That is a long.
I've never been on either.
That's like a 5-hour boat ride at least, right? That's
more or less.
That's got to be. Well, anyway,
the ferry to Newfoundland is longer.
This is very interesting. I am the kind of person who will drive to an airport to fly cheap the rest of the way, because if it's even if that were a 3-hour flight, it's a 7-hour drive. That's 10 hours. That's still less time of traveling than driving directly to Halifax. This is something for me. I need to remember these kind of things. This is very interesting. That if I just drive to Toronto, which I have done and therefore can do, apparently flying to anywhere within Canada from Toronto is dirt cheap, because that was why I did it, to go to Vancouver. This is very interesting, Frog.
Domestic flights within Canada aren't too bad.
Yeah,
and Halifax is one of the airports they go to more, because Halifax luckily is an international airport.
Right. Yes.
I think there's only like 5 international airports in Canada, and Halifax is one of them.
Shout outs to Newfoundland. Isn't Newfoundland? Don't they technically have an international airport? Or am I wrong?
I don't think so.
Oh, they don't.
They might. No, it's New Brunswick definitely doesn't have one. PEI definitely doesn't have one. Manitoba doesn't have one. Saskatchewan doesn't have one.
Jeez Louise, Saskatchewan's getting done over dirty. Well, it's a flyover. What do you call them up there? Not territory. It's not a state. It's not a territory. What is it again? Province. It's a flyover province. It's so unfortunate. There's things to do in Saskatchewan. I couldn't tell you, but there's things to do there. Yeah, they put people from the Alone show up in Saskatchewan, so
that's because it's flat and there ain't nothing there. I've been in Saskatchewan. I used to live. I grew up in Alberta, and I had family in Saskatchewan, so we'd make the drive over once in a while. There ain't nothing there.
But a TV plugged into a wall with a GameCube. 1.02 disc. Yes, because no. Canada used NTSC. Canada, only Europe uses PAL for those purposes, right? NTSC J, NTSCU. So is there an NTSC disc, or is it just NTSCU just kind of ported over? And more importantly, the regions like Quebec use PAL because French.
They don't use PAL. They might have a French language one. I don't know. I don't think so.
That's a fun thing for me to consider. Maybe
I have no idea.
I'll have to get somebody from Quebec back on.
I speak French. I still avoid Quebec. They're mean there.
Was there anybody from Quebec that you met at GOML?
Yeah. I mean, I've met Lunar Dusk last GOML, and I talked to Lunar Dusk again this GOML because we play sometimes because
ranked.
I'm pretty not just ranked, just to play because I warmed him up last year for GooseCon, and we play because I'm pretty good at the matchup, but no, I like Lunar a lot. I get along with Lunar. Trying to think. I don't remember any of the other Quebec people. I've talked to a lot of the other Quebec people. Some of them came to KOH last year. I hope some come again this year. But
What would be, if you knew that you had the time for it and the resources for it, what special thing would you do aside from round robin? You talked about it that for Kings of Halley, but would you do cruise? Would you do
Uh,
content like summit style? What would you want to do if you had, like, if you knew that you could definitely do it without actually having to worry about doing it, if it could just kind of like happen at the snap of a finger, you know what I mean?
I don't know. We have a cruise set up. It's not like register cruise. It's just like a time period where we're probably gonna figure something out whenever it happens with whoever's still there. And I'm not sure. Because it's hard. Because a lot of people will say they want all these side events, but most people who enter side events are just kind of want to be there and play friendlies anyways. Whereas other people might want to like go and hang out, go to bars, try out the local restaurants, something like that. Renting out the Harbor Hopper would be very funny. So the Harbor Hopper is a local. It's like a half boat, half truck that it's like a tourist attraction. It takes you around the city, and then it takes you through the harbor to the other. Because Halifax is like part of a twin cities with Dartmouth, which I say is also just Halifax, but people in Dartmouth get mad at me when I say that. Basically, it's Halifax is on this side of the city, and there's two bridges, and there's Dartmouth is like the other side of this little like harbor, and the Harbor Hopper just kind of takes people on a tour of both, and then takes you through the river, and then takes you the other side. It's just a tourist thing. Mainlanders do love the Harbor Hopper. Petra is correct. So getting one of those full of melee people would be really funny, but
I'm just picturing tragedy at sea, and we go, oh no, no.
just Google a Harbor Hopper. They are funny looking things. I'm wondering if it would, or Harbor Hopper Halifax maybe, and then look at pictures. This thing is goofy.
Images. We could get a couple setups onto there.
Oh yeah, no, it's a goofy looking thing, but
This looks amazing. This color scheme. I know that green and blue don't always go together, but this is working for me right now.
no, it's awesome.
I love the fact that this exists. So me and the rest of the people who are participating in this, we have some homework to do. Can you drive to Toronto? Is that a reasonable drive? If so, the flight is not that bad too. I just love and hate, because I wish it were the same for America, that domestic flights would be cheap because they're close.
Yeah.
But no, they're $400.
No, they're ridiculous.
Yes, and you also have to lay over just to travel 500 miles. Let's fly direct. Anyway, I'm done. I have to be done as well because Jen's going to bed. Shout outs to my lovely wife Jen for being patient, but also saying finish up. We have talked a lot this tonight, Frog. I'm so happy that you were able to come on, that we were able to get into all this stuff. I would encourage everybody, including myself, to rethink. You could actually afford to go to Kings of Halley and have a good time. And if you have a passport in particular, come on, Yokai Nails, let's go.
Start.gg/KOH6.
That'll be in the description below for everyone who's listening / watching this on the afterwards. And Frog, stick around for after the outro plays. We'll do the thumbnail and get you out of here. The Twitch people, you can watch the outro and then watch us talk about doing a thumbnail if you want to, because there actually is. I mean, there are people from NS here, but let me just roll through here real quick. Shout outs, Nodapps, Zero, Petricide, of course, Dotcap. Did we say Jack earlier? Kayat, yep. But that was a lot of underscores. Also, Cinnamon Bun, but with 2 U's. Oh, and Harbor Hoppers are apparently yassified war machines, real. And it's true, according to Petricide. Shout outs to Ben Nickerson and Abs Forl. A bunch of these people
is actually Lil Mitz. Fun fact.
Wait. Who? Ben Nickerson? Because Ben. Ben is Lil Mitz's name. Right. Yeah. That makes sense. For everyone for rolling through to listen to Frog and I talk tonight live, I do appreciate it. So yes, say goodbye to the people. Well, we're not done on Twitch just yet. We're just done on the official recording. Thank you all for tuning in.